Views expressed by Casters Guild members are only the opinions of that member, and that could change from day to day. Guild members may use mature language, but that in no way means they are mature. Listener discretion is advised.
The WGA SAG-AFTRA strike is in jeopardy. Turtle Copy Mania repeats itself, and we're quite happy with our nostalgia-tinted glasses. That's the spell we're casting tonight on Casters Guild. Thank you for tuning into this episode of Casters Guild. I am your guild master, Rick Perry, and one of the only living recorded fans of Mummies Alive.
And I'm your guild master, Baron Kane, and I thought I was the only one.
No, apparently that's another thing we have in common.
Crazy.
All right, so believe it or not, we're going to talk about this strike some more.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be the theme of Season 4. Is the SAG-AFTRA WGA strike.
Well, I mean, it is really affecting us, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It is, you know, for a cast that talks about a lot of, you know, Marvel stuff, DC stuff, in terms of, like, you know, movie and TV. And yeah, we talk about games, but, you know, that'll only take you so far, especially when we do a weekly cast.
Yeah, and you know, there's only so many times you can be like, "Hey, this game's coming out in like 4 months."
Right. Hey, this game's coming out in 3 months. This is really a countdown for this game. This cast is.
All right, so
Yep.
Sony is a producer of Jeopardy,
which
is currently a struck company. So all of the answers, questions, things like that are written by WGA writers for Jeopardy. So it's currently struck. They're not writing new clues. But it's also Jeopardy's 40th anniversary this year. So Jeopardy had the bright idea. Let's call back some of the contestants from season 37 and season 38, the COVID restricted seasons. And let's reuse a bunch of old questions that we still have on file that either like never got used because they weren't called or people got them wrong or, you know, whatever. Let's just reuse a bunch of old questions and we'll get ourselves a second chance season where a bunch of contestants who didn't necessarily win but have been on the show before can come back and be on the show. Now, this is shitty for several reasons. One, that means a bunch of writers aren't getting paid for this show. And two, you are now putting a bunch of contestants who it was probably their lifetime dream to get on Jeopardy, right? And they had to go the rigorous process of getting chosen to get on Jeopardy. They got on Jeopardy, and they never thought they'd ever be on Jeopardy again. And you are giving them the opportunity of the lifetime and saying, hey, do you want to come be on Jeopardy again? But you're going to have to cross a picket line to do it.
Yeah, kind of putting them in a spot. Yeah.
So I'm reading an article that was on Polygon here, and they actually spoke with 5 of the contestants who got invited back, who have all declined to come back because they don't want to cross the picket line. They all chose to remain anonymous, but I have some quotes here I'd like to read from some of these contestants because it's kind of heartbreaking and kind of makes this company look really shitty. So, quote, when I got a call gauging my interest in participating, my initial reaction was pure shock because I'd given up any fantasies about being invited back. But once that initial shock wore off, it was replaced by the dread of having to make an impossible decision. End quote. Another contestant, quote, the idea that I get to go back and do this again, and this time without the strict COVID regulations. Someone would actually be able to do my hair and makeup. I could take a picture standing next to the host. And even better, I would be in a tournament. I had heard such amazing stories of the tournament experience, win or lose, and I was so excited to be a part of that. My brain was just reeling at this new opportunity that I thought I would never have. End quote. Quote, I am so angry at the show and Sony leadership for doing this, calling with vague invitations on Thursday and then announcing publicly on Monday what the plan was before telling the invitees. waiting to tape season 37, the Tournament of Champions, and any possible season 37 second chance or wildcard tournaments until the strike is resolved, but somehow it's okay to invite season 37 and 38 players. End quote.
Just a bunch of people getting screwed over all around.
Right. I mean, and good on them, like, honestly, good on them for deciding to decline and not cross the picket line. Because it really is the chance of a lifetime that they are turning down just to stand in solidarity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they're contestants, so they wouldn't necessarily be members of SAG or Actors Guild. So they're not covered. So them standing in solidarity, though, that I would imagine that means a lot.
Yeah. But what Sony exec do we have to hang for having the idea of, oh, okay, we're still going to make Jeopardy. We're just going to do it in like the shittiest way possible and invite a bunch of people who aren't a part of the guilds to make the show anyway. Let's just create scabs. Why not?
Yeah, right. Exactly. Make scabs out of people who wouldn't normally be put in that position.
Right. Like you're literally almost offering them an offer they can't refuse.
Right.
Like, here's this once in a lifetime opportunity, and it's all yours. All you have to do is be a scab.
Kind of makes me wonder how they worded it to them, too, the invite. It was probably not as cut and dry as we just made it.
Oh, hell no.
Even though the decision is quite cut and dry.
Yeah, they probably didn't even bring up the fact that they would have to cross the picket line.
Right.
Like, this was something that these contestants figure out on their own.
Man, I don't know what I would do in that situation. I'd probably stand in solidarity too, but I'd be pissed.
Oh, yeah.
I would definitely be out on the picket line after that.
I am not delusional enough to say I would just immediately go, yes, stand in solidarity. I would probably end up declining and standing in solidarity, but man, that would be a difficult decision.
Oh,
I would sit there and go back and forth for so long, talk to so many people. You know, is this the right thing to do? That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what it would end up taking is talking to other people. Because I know, like, in the heat of the moment, my brain would be trying to convince me. It's like, well, you're not part of that guild, so it shouldn't matter.
Right.
Well, it does, because they're using you as a scab, essentially.
Yeah, and scabs usually aren't part of the guilds. That's how they end up getting recruited in the first place.
Yep. That's rough.
But let's go ahead and keep this struck companies doing shitty things rolling. So Disney Plus and Hulu have announced a price increase. And I could sit here and go over all the numbers, but honestly, they had to release a chart to show people like what all the new prices were going to be. Whether you're getting Disney with ads, Hulu with ads, Disney and Hulu with ads, ESPN and Hulu with or without ads, ESPN by itself, ESPN with UFC pay-per-view, different bundle offerings, whether you get 3 or 2 with ads, without ads, Hulu with live TV with ads, without ads. But no matter what, pretty much every single one of those offerings is going up in price. And the most shocking number, honestly, is that Disney Plus launched in November of 2019 at $6.99 a month. Meaning that as of this October, it took them 4 years to nearly double their subscription price.
Which I'm going to be completely honest. When that first came out and that subscription price was that low, if you didn't think that it was going to go up that much or more, you are deluding yourself. I knew from the get-go, it's like, this is just to get people in.
Right. But to double in 4 years, I will say they did add a lot more content since then. And I'm sure they paid so much for their new AI intro to Secret Invasion. Then they got to recoup those costs.
Right.
But no, I'm sure they're making a lot of stuff. I'm sure all these Marvel shows and everything like that are not cheap, but you're still Disney. You cannot tell me that you're hurting for money.
Yeah, maybe they're going to use the strike as an excuse.
Yeah. And then on top of that, Bob Iger also said that they are currently exploring options to crack down on account sharing.
Wow, okay.
So they're going to raise your price and then make it so you can't share your password.
Yeah. Yeah, it just sounds like they're just falling into the same routine that the other ones are.
Yeah, it's just a matter of needing to record record profits every year.
Yep. Gotta love how shareholders really ruin everything for everybody.
You can't convince me that this is needed. You cannot convince me that that they're low on money. That okay, we can't pay these writers. We got to let them strike. We can't pay these actors. We got to let them strike. We have to raise the price of our subscription service. We have to stop this account sharing. No, there's no way. The amount of money that you're making, there's no way.
Nope. It's completely unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
And it's not even that they need more profits to give away bigger bonuses. It's simply about bragging rights. It's simply about being able to report those record profits. Mm-hmm. It's let's fuck over all these people so we can report record profits again this year.
I mean, and I will also say just from the what little I know of that world, those shareholders, the shareholders for corporations like that, they're completely out of touch. So if they have 1 year that isn't quite as big as they thought it was going to be, they freak out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it just baffles me because they're not business owners, but they're business owners. You know what I mean?
Right.
And they should know that, there are going to be slim years. There are going to be years that breaking even from the last year is great.
Yeah.
And it's you are they're making or splitting hairs from we made this many hundreds of millions of dollars this year or billions of dollars, however,
right,
and this year we made the same amount. That's unacceptable. It's are you hearing yourself?
Mm-hmm.
That's unacceptable because you're making the same amount of money as last year. It's ridiculous.
It's an unsustainable standard.
Yes.
You are creating a bubble that is going to burst in the worst way.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then they're going to expect everybody to feel bad for them. They'll get a bailout from the government, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Well, the companies will. Honestly, the shareholders will literally just bail themselves out. They'll just go, it's starting to go down. Let's sell all these shares. Let's sell the stock and start investing in the next company that we will force to do record profits every year from here on out, leaving the company itself and all of its employees to deal with the mess.
Right. Because it's impossible to tank a billionaire. It's impossible to tank, people that make that much money.
Right.
Yeah, because even if something bad happens and they are punished for whatever, they're still going to have, this amount of money that's going to keep them from being completely destitute.
Yep.
They have money overseas, they can even go to jail for a few years. Once they come out, everything will be fine because they've got all that money overseas.
Mm-hmm. Untouchable funds.
Yep.
Hell, worst comes to worst, they'll go ahead and bankrupt themselves in this country with all that other money overseas, file bankruptcy, get completely out of debt, and then retrieve a bunch of their money overseas and be rich again.
Pretty much.
I'd love to call it a broken system, but it's not. The system is working as intended.
Yeah, right. I think that's the sad part is, it's definitely working as intended.
Mm-hmm. The system does not need to be fixed. It needs to be torn down and rebuilt from the ground up.
Yep.
But we're just two goofy guys on a podcast. I don't think we're going to be doing a whole lot.
Related to that, before anybody's like, well, what would you do better? I don't know. There has to be a better way, though.
Mm-hmm.
Get some better minds than ours on it.
Yeah. I don't think anybody is reaching out to the guild members of the Casters Guild going, fix the economy.
Right, exactly. But it doesn't take an economist to know that the system's messed up.
Right. All right, on to lighter, goofier news. And honestly, I'm not 100% sure that this company isn't a struck company, but I highly doubt it. So there's a company I hadn't heard of before, but apparently they've been around for a little while, called Nacelle, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. And they've been going around and rebooting properties from the late 80s, early 90s. Specifically, properties that could be considered TMNT knockoffs. So far,
Okay.
they've already started reviving RoboForce and Biker Mice from Mars, which Biker Mice from Mars has Ryan Reynolds attached now. I'm not sure at what capacity, but he is attached. And now they just picked up the Wild West Cowboys of Moo Mesa.
That's a little wild to me. That's I'm not saying that I hated that show, but it is definitely like one of those the quite obvious trying to cash in on anthropomorphized animals.
Right. Yeah, I don't think there's anybody who was asking for that series when it first came out specifically. I'm not sure who it is that's asking for the reboot of all the series they could have hit, like the Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Man.
Right, yeah, I would say, like, if you're looking for any kind of, like, reboot from shows back then, I mean, I know they already tried it, but, you know, try Thundercats again. I bet that Thundercats reboot they tried would actually go over really well today.
Sure.
And, I mean, they did He-Man. He-Man did relatively well on the, both of the reboots, I should say, that they did, which they weren't reboots, which you're with me. Both of them did rather well.
And She-Ra.
Yeah, and She-Ra. I don't... Those shows... I would almost rather see Silverhawks than those.
That's saying something.
That is saying something.
I will say, of a lot of the anthropomorphic character shows from that era, I was doing a little bit more digging, and I found an article on Animation World Network from February of last year, February 2022, that announced that SWAT Cats is getting a reboot called SWAT Cats Revolution. So it's not from Nacelle. It's from the same company that made the original.
Okay.
If you were gonna reboot one, SWAT Cats, I think, is a better choice.
I would think out of the ones that we have said, definitely SWAT Cats is the better choice. Yeah. If you had to pick a show from that era, I mean, even outside of the anthropomorphized animals stuff, what would you want?
That's difficult to say, because there is a lot of stuff that, like, oh, I really liked that show, but do I want to see it come back? Because like we said at the top of the show, I am a Mummies Alive fan. I will die a Mummies Alive fan. I don't think I want to see it rebooted. I want it to live in my memory with rose-tinted glasses. Like, let me paint it with nostalgia and leave it right where it is.
Right.
If I had to pick one, you know what? I'll give you two. My first gut reaction is the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon.
Okay.
Because the movie was awesome, and I feel like if they rebooted the cartoon, they could handle it awesome like they did with the movie. But at the same time, I don't know how I feel about giving Hasbro more money.
Right. Let's just assume that these cartoons are going to be published under A24.
Right. So yeah, Dungeons and Dragons, the cartoon.
Okay. Right.
And then Creepy Crawlers.
Oh man, I haven't heard that in a long time.
And only because of the toy tie-ins, because I think it would be cool if those little creepy crawler ovens came back where you could make your own little edible and non-edible, depending on which toy set you got, creepy crawlers. And I think that'd be something cool to do with my kid, especially if they got into the show. We could get the toys, we could bake up some bugs. That'd be neat.
Yeah, those are good choices, I think.
Yeah, so those are my two. What about you?
Well, like I said, Thundercats would be great. Only because, like I said, even the reboot they just did the last time, I think would go over much better now. Past that, I'm thinking of the stuff that I was big into as a kid, and I'm realizing that they've rebooted a lot of this stuff. It's funny too, when I asked you that question, I had one right at the top of my head that I wanted to see.
Oh, you know what? In Caster's Guild fashion, I have a third.
Okay.
Captain N.
Oh, wait, you know what? No, I'm right there with you because I've also said on this cast that they should do a live action remake of that.
Yeah. And like not
like a
only
movie.
that, be it live action, be it animated or whatever, bring in like the new versions of the Nintendo franchises and some of the newer Nintendo franchises. Let me see Breath of the Wild Link. Let me see Odyssey Mario. Bring in Kirby. I don't think Kirby was ever on Captain N.
No, I don't think so. But no, I like that. I like Captain N. I thought it was a fun concept when it first came out. And it would be what it is. It is just a big commercial for Nintendo.
Oh hell yeah!
Which I think we knew that when it happened,
right?
Even as kids, but I think we were fine with that.
Yes, a lot of the coolest stuff is. It's just, hey, here's a commercial. Go buy this toy.
Well, yeah, you're right. You're right because I think a lot of shows.
Especially if we're talking this era, if we're talking late 80s, early 90s, every cartoon was go buy our toys.
Yes. Yeah. And I like I said, I think the success of a lot of these shows was measured off of the sale of their merch.
Absolutely. Which is why we all had the exact same Ninja Turtles bed sheets.
Right. Exactly. I would say also, I'm going to... I don't know if this counts because it's not really that old, but Invader Zim.
I'll give you Invader
Zim. It's not that old. It's maybe about, well, actually, at this point, it's probably like 20 years old, isn't it?
It's one of those things where it's probably older than you're thinking it is because that's how this stuff always sneaks up on me. I go, oh, it's not that old, but...
Yeah. Actually, and now that I'm thinking about it, they're talking about doing these Ninja Turtles clones, right? They're talking about doing these Ninja Turtles clones on the heels of the Ninja Turtles movie that they did.
Right. Obviously trying to capitalize.
Yeah. It's like history repeating itself completely.
By the way, Invader Zim aired from 2001 to 2002.
Hey, so I was about right then. Yeah.
It's a little more than 20 years old.
I think we're due for a reboot or bringing it back, or Yonan Vasquez is still doing stuff. Let's do it.
Now, I know Invader Zim is Nickelodeon, but it did remind me, talking about Invader Zim right here, Cartoon Network is talking about doing a block during Adult Swim to bring back some of their old shows that used to run in like some of their golden era shows. Okay.
I have two that I think I would like, and one that we both should have said that the whole world is wanting.
Okay.
No one can shut up about this show, about they want this to come back. You ready?
Go for it.
So the first one, for me, what I am wanting, and I'm not saying, because I know that they were kind of rebooted already, I want them to do it right this time. First one's Muppet Babies. But like the original one, where they're doing shit, and then they show clips of movies, and they're recreating movies and stuff like that.
Okay,
the Muppets.
There have been 2 Muppet Babies reboots.
Yes,
since the original.
But I want it to be like the original, and I know that makes how that makes me sound. But I think the coolest part about the original one is that they were recreating these scenes from these popular movies,
right,
and showing clips from these popular movies, and it's like Disney owns this now.
Oh yeah.
They also own Lucasfilm, which the Muppet Babies constantly were, taking stuff from. But now they're both owned by Disney. It's like you are at the perfect precipice to do that.
You have everything you need. You're not going to have to be shopping around for rights.
Right. And then another one that has been rebooted that I think that could be done better now. Inspector Gadget.
Oh, I never would have thought of Inspector Gadget.
Yeah.
That live action film kind of removed Inspector Gadget from like my lexicon.
Yeah, it tended to. The second one more than the first one, weirdly enough.
But it could be cool.
Yeah. All right, you ready? You ready for the one that you're probably going to kick yourself for not thinking of?
Go for it.
Or you did think of it, but you didn't want it. but this is the one. If you had to think of one cartoon back from that era that everybody apparently wants to come back, what do you think it would be?
See, now you got me on the edge, thinking I'm about to say. I honestly don't know.
Pirates of Darkwater.
Pirates of Darkwater. That never would have even occurred to me. But yes.
Am I wrong though? I mean, whenever anybody talks about anytime anybody talks about any kind of reboot, it's that show.
Yeah.
Mostly brought up, it's that show. I was not a huge fan of that show.
Look, people talk about rebooting that show so much. I learned about that show from people talking about wanting reboots of that show. Because I didn't watch it when I was younger.
What that show was a clone of, He-Man and Thundercats, and you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was absolutely capitalizing on the success of those shows. But that's fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's fine. But yeah, it just didn't, like, back then it just didn't appeal to me. Now, as an adult, would I like it better? Maybe. I just know that back then, I know it's in the title, I just think it was a little too dark for me.
Yeah, literally.
That water was a little too dark.
But Baron, you know where you could go to get these nostalgia feelings fed?
I don't.
tvillain.com. Tvillain is a t-shirt site where you'll find a killer limited edition shirt being sold for $13 only while supplies last. Every Monday, the site features a new design by a new artist. We would tell you what's featured right now, but by the time you hear this, it's already changed.
They choose the most ingenious designs that reflect everything evil and villainy, as well as works pertaining to anything artistic, pulp style, lowbrow, pop culture, TV, movies, music, video games, comics, etc. All things cool and evil, basically. To check them out and help Casters Guild, click our link in the description.
But hold on, for the first time in a long time, Tvillain has unearthed a horde of past featured designs, including some of my favorites, such as the Iron Mando and the Mythosaur of Mandalore. Don't miss your chance to grab these rare relics, as the quantities are dreadfully limited. Check out the link in the description down below before these designs vanish into the shadows once more. All right, but getting back into it, I just looked up the Cartoon Network thing I was telling you about that you reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be on Adult Swim, and it's basically just a block of content, and they're calling it Checkered Past.
Okay.
Which, that's fantastic.
Right.
And the programming...
That's actually great on a couple different levels.
Exactly.
Just pointing that out.
Yeah. And the programming that has been announced so far is Dexter's Lab, Ed, Edd n Eddy, Courage the Cowardly Dog, and The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Okay. Those are all big for them.
Mm-hmm. They've even announced, starting on August 26th, over like the next week after that, exactly what episodes they'll be playing.
Okay.
And I imagine if it does well, they'll probably keep doing it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they probably got the idea from these YouTube channels that are constantly showing their stuff from back then.
Yeah, probably. They're like, we could be capitalizing on this.
Why aren't we making money off of this? And show channels like Boomerang and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Who kind of, I think Boomerang is also a Cartoon Network channel.
I think that is Cartoon Network, but it more dealt with like just the Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Right.
And this is more, this stuff from the 90s. Of all of these, I'm surprised, not disappointed, but surprised that I don't see Cow and Chicken on the list.
Yeah, it was good. I think it was good. But it also had like those side shows that all those other shows had. Like the
I Am Weasel.
I was about to say, is I Am Weasel the one that was in that one?
Two Stupid Dogs.
As voiced by Michael Dorn.
Mm-hmm.
Two Stupid Dogs was its own show. Did it spin off from that?
I know it
spun off. Show, though.
I feel like that era, the reason I'm surprised is I feel like that era kind of got started by Cow and Chicken. That like cartoon era. I could be wrong.
A fair assessment, though.
But it was Cow and Chicken, and then like Dexter's Lab also had a bunch of different spin-offs from Dexter's Lab. You had like that little that Justice League style show. I forget what they called it.
Justice League?
No. It had like the Thor ripoff, where they called Val Halen.
Oh yeah, that was
And
yeah,
the
that was
Incredible
definitely
Bulk.
Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like, but that eventually broke off into its own show.
Did it?
Yeah, Dial M for Monkey eventually broke off.
Did it?
Yeah. It didn't get, neither of them got like a ton of episodes or anything, but they definitely broke off. I don't think either of them even got like a whole season.
That's crazy. Man, I'm in some kind of weird existential spiral now. That's like like I thought they were great for shorts, but why did they make them full shows?
Like I said, I don't think they got even full seasons. They were probably experimental. They were like, let's make a few episodes of these and see how they do. Which that era of Cartoon Network was all about. And they usually advertised them as like special releases or limited time events. You know, they were like, oh, watch Cartoon Network from this time to this time to see these never before seen cartoons that might never be seen again.
Right.
And then, you know, if they did well, you'd see a few more episodes, and if those did well, you might see a full season.
Fair.
But that was that whole era of Cartoon Network. But I'm happy to see Ed, Edd and Eddy on there. That probably is my favorite.
I'm going to admit I was not a fan of Ed, Edd, and Eddy.
It's definitely not for everyone. I am the first to admit it is for a niche audience only.
Yeah. Now, you know, I'll go for some Billy and Mandy for sure.
Oh, yeah. Voltaire made some good music for that show.
Yeah, he did.
All right, Baron, as long as we're hitting this nostalgia button, Capcom is having a end of summer sale on Steam. And I'm going to give you some highlights from this end of summer sale.
Okay.
So you can get what they're calling the Mega Man Summer Pack, which includes 6 items. That is Mega Man Legacy Collection, Mega Man Legacy Collection 2, Mega Man X Legacy Collection, Mega Man X Legacy Collection 2, Mega Man 11, and Mega Man 0 ZX Legacy Collection, which pretty much is every Mega Man game ever made, if you don't include like the 3D RPGs. And you can get that entire bundle for $29.82. At full price, that's normally $135 worth of games.
Wow.
And you're getting it for under $30.
That's crazy. Again, I wasn't a huge Mega Man fan. Back then, it was just it was too hard for me.
Sure.
Those games that just seemed those games that were just hard, I just didn't get into. Because again, even back then, it's like I'm playing these to have fun, not necessarily for the challenge.
Sure.
And Mega Man is definitely a challenge.
I will say a good reason to pick up this collection, if you're listening to this and you've ever even thought about getting into game design, go play Mega Man X. The first level of Mega Man X will teach you more about how to design a game than a game design course. Like, that game teaches you so much about how to play that game without a tutorial, without a button map that's like, oh, press these buttons. Like, it's good. And just like Mega Man in general, the music is fucking good. The level design's fucking good. And yeah, there is a level of difficulty that is missing from modern games. But if you are an old school gamer and you like that kind of thing, pretty fucking sweet.
Absolutely. And I think that most of my friends who were in are into like the old retro games like that are definitely into it because of that old time challenge. You know, a lot of the games from back then were just hard, but they were rewarding. You know what I mean? It was, again, I can't even really describe it because that's just how they were, but just going off of what people have told me, you know, it's hard, but not impossibly so. And, you know, they feel good after beating it. And I will say I do like the system that Mega Man has where you do the whole beat the boss, use that boss's weapon to beat the next boss. It's neat. It's the first really customizable side scroller that I've seen.
Yeah, I never really thought about it quite that way, but in an era of beat this level, go to the next level, go to the next level, like Mega Man was the first game where you actually had a choice of what order you wanted to tackle the game in.
Right. At least in my memory, yeah.
Yeah. So next one I want to
Right.
point out is the Arcade Classics bundle. That's $123 worth of games. Once again, you're getting for $29.76, so less than $30. I'm not going to go over everything that comes in this bundle because it's 64 items, and some of those items are collections on their own, so they include even more games. But essentially, if it was a Capcom game in the arcades, it's probably in this bundle. And it's got all the big names: Ghost and Goblins, Bionic Commando, Street Fighter, 1944. You know, the list goes on and on and on.
That excites me. Again, you know, I think that for like those, it's still, you got these tough games because, you know, a lot of them come from the arcade. A lot of these arcade games do have that level of difficulty because they wanted you to spend money.
Right.
But I guess these also have a level of nostalgia for me that is hard to shake.
There's something about those old arcade games for people in our era that presses a very specific nostalgia button of visiting the arcades and, you know, spending a roll of quarters and, you know, doing your best to get to the end of these games.
What was the bundle called again?
The one we were just talking about?
Yeah.
That was the
Capcom
Arcade Stadium Complete Pack.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, 76% discount.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't even know where to start.
All right, next one I'm going to bring up is the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle. Beat 'em Up games have a very special place in my heart. This includes Final Fight, Captain Commando, The King of Dragons, Knights of the Round, Warriors of Fate, Armored Warriors, and Battle Circuit. And you're getting all those games for $9.99.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I will say that I do like me some beat 'em ups. Again, I was never good at them. I got the River City Girls game.
Mm-hmm.
It is so cool. So hard, though. So hard.
You're talking about the difficulty, not
Yes,
yourself while
yes.
playing the game, right?
No. Nope. I do know that would track for me, but no.
All right, so next bundle, we got the Disney Afternoon collection.
Whoa, wait a minute.
I know.
Wait a minute. Go ahead.
It includes Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers, Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers 2, DuckTales, DuckTales 2, Darkwing Duck, and Tailspin. And you get all 6 games for $4.99.
Wow. What was this called again?
That was the Disney Afternoon collection.
Oh my gosh. I was down on some DuckTales, let me tell you.
Oh yeah. Did you check out the reboot when they remade that game? I should say remake, not reboot.
The game or the show?
The game.
I have not seen the remake to the game.
The remake is really well done. And I mean, it doesn't make too many changes. It's more of a graphical overhaul than anything.
Okay.
But it's pretty good. Now, this particular collection does not include that remake. Like, it is just the classic games. But it still looks awesome.
I'm fine with that.
That being said, the DuckTales Remastered is still a part of this Capcom sale, and you can get that for $3.74 right now because it's on sale.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just got paid. What's wrong with me?
A couple other single games that made its way onto the Capcom sale that I think are worth mentioning. Okami HD. Okami is probably one of my favorite games of all time. It's 50% off.
I remember you playing that on stream, I believe.
Yes, I did. And that is $9.99. Dungeons & Dragons Chronicles of Mystara, 67% off, making it only $4.94. And then I believe they're having some more modern stuff on this sale too. But
I remember going to the bowling alley with my parents and I remember the D&D arcade game being there, and it was a lot of fun.
Was that the Chronicles of Mystara?
Chronicles of Mystara is it is essentially a merging together of two different games.
Right.
I don't know which one it was. I don't know which one it was that I played, or if it was even either of these games. These were the only D&D arcade games, correct?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it's the only ones that Capcom's made, but the two games apparently that are reworked to make Chronicles of Mystara is Dungeons & Dragons Tower of Doom and Dungeons & Dragons Shadow over Mystara.
Gotcha. Yeah, I remember as a kid, everything is bigger, everything is cooler, everything is more magical. I'm assuming we can agree with that.
Absolutely.
So I would guess that it was one of those two games that I played. But I don't know. Either way, I do remember it being fun. I do remember it being beautiful. But I can't tell you which one it is. Now, I will say this. If no one is familiar with that, and you're familiar with Golden Axe, they're essentially the same game.
Right.
In terms of, like, gameplay. There are definitely different features and such, but they're essentially the same game. Yeah, these summer sales are going to kill me, man.
I'm actually looking through right now to see if there's any other sales worth talking about.
They get me every year.
Of course they do.
I completely forgot, like, partway through the game, they let you choose where to go.
Yeah.
All right, it's only $4.99. Dang you, summer sale.
Okay, here's a big one that you won't be able to take advantage of because you already have this game. So I'm not going to make you spend any more of your money. So right now, Cyberpunk 2077 is on sale. And that new Phantom Liberty DLC is coming out real soon. So you can get just Cyberpunk 2077 at 50% off for $29.99. If you haven't played it, go play it, gear up, get ready for Phantom Liberty. But you can also get it in a bundle where you pre-purchase Phantom Liberty and you get the game and Phantom Liberty for $55.18, down from $90.
That's a hell of a deal. That is a hell of a deal.
And I feel like Baron and I have sung the praises of this game enough that you should know it doesn't deserve all the hate that people gave it. Even
Absolutely.
now, I feel like people have gotten over themselves. I'm looking at the Steam page, and it has a very positive. 80% of the reviews for the game are positive now at this point.
It really made a huge comeback in terms of the reviews and such. And for it to be overwhelmingly negative in the beginning and then go to that kind of positive. I mean, if you know anything about percentages, they had to overcome all of those negatives first.
That's quite a hole to climb out of. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm proud of them. I'm glad that they pulled it around like that.
Absolutely.
And I'll tell you, man, I just outside of all of that stuff, Steam, they are really making it easy to be a gamer.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, they don't do anything for people who do console stuff. Obviously, but you know, for those of us that do PC games, I mean, this is like, it is putting games in front of us that we would have never seen otherwise.
Right.
It is putting games in front of us that we would not have been able to afford otherwise. I think it's amazing. I think Steam and other platforms like it, because, you know, it's not just Steam doing this, I'm sure. It's just Steam is the biggest one. It's awesome. As a gamer who, you know, grew up not being able to afford the latest consoles, not being able to afford the latest games, which, you know, shout out to my parents. I was never bothered by that. You're fine. It's just crazy how it is now. You know, this is turning into me singing the praises of Steam, but I mean, I feel like sometimes that's kind of necessary.
Well, let's go ahead and sing the praises of one of the other people you were just kind of hinting at. HumbleBundle.com has a few deals going on right now that if you are a PC gamer, I don't think you should pass up. So first up, there's the Jackbox Jukebox Playing the Odds game bundle.
Yeah, let me tell you, if you've never played Jackbox, do it. It's not like one of those play it by yourself kind of things. If you like to socialize, if you have people who you are friends with, and you don't even have to be in the same room, get these games.
Which, before I tell you what's in the bundle, I feel like I should say, if you don't know what Humble Bundle is, basically you name a price, you pay that price for a bundle of games, and then that money goes to charity, which is awesome. And then there are usually tiers, like if you donate at least this much, you'll get this many games. But even if you only donate $1, you'll still get at least some games.
Right.
So if you pay at least 20, if you donate at least 20 on the Jackbox Playing the Odds bundle, you'll get every odd numbered Jackbox game. So you get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, plus the Jackbox Party Starter, Quiplash 2, and Fibbage XL. Great bundle.
Yeah, completely agree. Like I said, it should be something that you jump on if it's something that you enjoy. Or it's something you should jump on if hanging out with people is something you enjoy, is what I should have said. Because it's a great party game. And it's, it is as funny as you can make it. And it is as adult as you want to make it.
Mm-hmm. The next bundle I want to talk about is the Spaced Out game bundle. If you donate at least $30, you get High on Life, The Outer Worlds Expansion Pass, Trover Saves the Universe, The Entropy Center, Journey to the Savage Planet, Breathage, and a 55% off coupon for the Journey to the Savage Planet Hot Garbage DLC.
I mean, just a couple of those games make it worth it.
Mm-hmm. Outer Worlds plus the expansion pass alone for $30.
Yeah.
Is worth it.
Yeah. Agreed. I do like that game. Journey to the Savage Planet, also a great game.
All right, and the last bundle I want to talk about from Humble Bundle right now is the Resident Evil Decades of Horror Village Edition game bundle. So if you're a horror game fan, you get Resident Evil Village, a 25% off Winter's expansion coupon, Resident Evil 3, Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, Resident Evil 6, Resident Evil 5, Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 0, Resident Evil 2 Revelations, Resident Evil the Original, and Resident Evil Revelations, the first one.
Good lord.
So that is a 12-item bundle. And if you've been looking at all the attention that Resident Evil has been getting with 7 and 8, and you're like, man, I should probably check out and see what this Resident Evil stuff is all about. Here's your chance. $35, you get all 12 items.
Get on it.
And the fact that all of that goes to charity is just fantastic.
Yeah, I say if you have, if you want to go in there, you get the free game. If it's just asking for $1 or something like that, if that's all you can afford, by all means do that. But if you can afford to put in a little more, please do so, because it is going to charity. So just do what you can to help out where you can.
And speaking of games, it's all anybody's talking about on my social media feed, so I know that the people listening to this podcast right now have been playing it. Baldur's Gate 3. We talked about it a little bit last episode and just kind of how it has other developers kind of shaking in their boots. But I have been playing this game, and it's so fucking good.
It is good. I mean, I played the early access stuff, and it was good then. So I can imagine just with everything that comes with that, like the full game, because I didn't have all the classes, I didn't have all the races that you can play in the early access. So I can only imagine how much better it's gotten. Definitely have some characters that I want to try to make. Actually,
I was just going to talk about how much fun I was having playing the game, but then I remembered seeing something that I would like to share.
Okay.
I just have to find it again. All right. So Larian Studios, in a update on Steam, and also on their Twitter, which I guess is called X now, released a bunch of stats for the first weekend of the game. And I'd like to know what you think of some of these stats.
Okay.
So in the opening weekend, 368 players managed to finish the game.
Wow.
Over 93% of players rolled a custom character.
Okay.
I think that's half the fun, personally.
Yeah.
Players spent a combined 88 years in character creation.
Oh my god, just in character creation.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a beefy character builder. I told some of my D&D party, the campaign that I DM for, we're getting ready to start up a new campaign, and we use, virtual tabletops, and all of them have Baldur's Gate. I was like, go in Baldur's Gate, create your character in Baldur's Gate, screenshot it, remove the background, there's your mini for your virtual tabletop.
Yeah.
Because the character creator is that good. Nearly 10% of characters spent at least an hour in character creation.
And yeah, I mean, I play Fallout. I know how it is. I play Fallout and I play D&D. That's actually, that number's kind of low. Those are rookie numbers.
Of the people who didn't create their own character and chose to take one of the origin characters, Gale was the most popular by a large margin.
Gale is the cleric? The wizard.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
That also surprises me.
What's the cleric's name?
Shadowheart.
Shadowheart. How did I forget that? Shadowheart.
Gale was also the 7th highest cause of death for players.
What?
But Larian says you only have yourselves to blame for being so flammable.
That's fair.
The highest class choice when creating a custom character, by a large margin, was Paladin.
Okay.
And the most popular race choice was half-elf, closely followed by human and elf.
Well, I mean, when you're making paladins, half-elf is the way to go.
Almost 100,000 players have been rejected by Astarion.
What? Oh, really? We never got into the romance stuff in the early access stuff, so it's still kind of new to me.
One NPC was shoved into a chasm for every concurrent player we had playing on our peak on Sunday. That's 815,000. Of all player deaths, 12% were caused by friendly fire.
That's so funny.
In terms of diplomacy, players veer on the side of good. 65.1% saved the Grove, while 34.9% chose to assault the Grove.
Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Scratch the dog has been petted over 750,000 times.
That tracks.
Cementing his reputation as the goodest boy in all the realms. Using Speak with Dead and Talk with Animals respectively, players spoke to over 1,400,000 corpses and over 2,400,000 animals.
You know, in actual D&D, I don't think those two things are used enough.
That's true. Agreed.
Though I will say the D&D movie made Speak with Dead way better than it needs to be.
Yeah. That's one of those moments in that movie that makes me think it is an actual D&D campaign and not just
because
fantasy movie.
That was 100% the DM being a dick.
Uh-huh.
No, you know what that is that's 100% the DM not expecting them to use Speak with Dead, so they didn't have it in their head exactly what they were being told, so they spread it out over like 6 corpses while they were trying to figure
stalling.
it out. Yeah.
Fantastic.
And the first body they did was the indicator to me. 100%.
All right. And the last stat I have for you here. Players have played for at least 10 million hours, and that's over 1,225 years.
Oh. Yep. You know what? Keep it coming. Make those game studios quake in their boots.
You got to give it to them. They made a fantastic game. It's all anybody's talking about right now. It actually made it difficult to find things to talk about this episode because my entire feed is nothing but Baldur's Gate 3.
Yep. Nope. 100% right. I mean, I was even thinking about busting out the game just to make a few characters. Not necessarily play, to make a few characters.
Yeah, do it.
I'm gonna.
And with that, I think we're going to call this an episode.
Yeah, we really pulled that out, didn't we?
We did. Thank you,
Really
Baldur's
pulling it
Gate
out.
stats.
That's right. You really padded the time there for us. Thank you.
Email us at castersguild@gmail.com. Tell us what you want to hear us talk about in the next episode. Obviously, we're struggling. And come join us on our Discord. That's where all the fun stuff is happening. We will see you in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye. Go play some Baldur's Gate.